Has anyone ever told you, "Whoa, you have an amazing voice"? Do you also have a passion for storytelling? Have you ever listened to an audiobook narrator and thought, "I would love to do this"? Well, get ready to take some notes because class is in session. I'm your host, ANDREEA GABOR. In this ACX University Performance Masterclass, we're going to follow along as one great social media content creator and voiceover artist takes the first steps toward her dream career. We've paired her with a seasoned audiobook narrator and coach who will guide her on the transition from short-form videos to longer narration projects. This means everything from stamina and vocal health to getting into character and staying true to who you are. So let's get started.
Hi, I'm Emily Lawrence. I'm a professional audiobook narrator and an audiobook narration and business coach. I have a BFA from New York University's Tisch School of the Arts, where I studied acting. I've been doing audiobooks basically ever since I graduated from college. I've been a full-time narrator for 8 or 9 years at this point. I've narrated nearly 400 audiobooks. I started narrating on ACX, and I worked on books just on ACX for several years. So I guess you could say that I'm an ACX success story. And so I did that for a few years before I started working with major publishers. So I've been very lucky to have this be my full-time job for almost a decade at this point. The genres that I love working in the most are YA, sci-fi fantasy, and literary fiction. I think that being able to narrate in all genres is really important, and including part of being a creative professional is not always getting to narrate in the genres you love the most all the time. So you have to be able to find what you love about every genre, because if you're lucky, you'll work in all of them. I started coaching because I was answering a lot of people's questions about how to do this, how to go full-time, how to work with publishers, how to become a narrator. And I realized that a lot of people wanted to do exactly what I had done, and I wanted to be able to help them do it. So I started as a business coach, and then realized that I couldn't really only focus on business, because you can be the best marketer, networker in the world, but if you don't have the performance to back it up, you're only going to get so far. And so I really wanted to be able to help people make this work for them. So I expanded to performance coaching also, and now I cover the whole gamut.
Hi, my name is DAYNE Caldwell. I am from a small town in Mississippi. Most people know me on my social media platforms by DECADENT DAYNE. One of my biggest platforms, which is TikTok. I generally I'm a Taurus, so I like food. So talking about food, win-win. So I generally narrate how they are cooking in the video, especially when someone isn't talking. Then I get to add my touch while keeping their style intact. And it just becomes a masterpiece, like paint in the canvas. It just comes together cohesively.
Flames awaken, the oils have been ordained. While you prepare yourself for a piece of the resistance, Dracula would rather taste blood than food. Epitome of smoked salmon, the cut, the slice. Flames embrace like a warm hug, engulf, for you will know the true taste of beef with seasoning. The fries take a bath, bubbles. The sauce red like blood, the simmer, the stir, while you line shrimp to be devoured. Epitome of happiness, artwork in motion, masterpiece on a plate, the smear, the spread. Stop, just there. Dracula had forgotten the taste of food because of vengeance for blood. Take a picture of your masterpiece.
There are different aspects of myself with each different narration video. It's not just food. It could be somebody driving a car, or someone doing their hair, or my favorite now, people doing their makeup, and I'm narrating how they're doing their makeup. The video that I did that went viral, I was actually debating on doing it. A lot of people from Instagram came on my TikTok live saying it went viral. Snoop shared it, and I was like, yeah, right. Snoop shared it. Okay. And I kept talking to them. Lo and behold, I get on Instagram, Snoop shares it. And then I get on Twitter. It went viral on Twitter. Twitter shares it, and everyone is tagging Audible. I ended up getting a message directly from Audible saying, hey, what is your direct information? We'd like to reach out to you. I'm like, This cannot be serious. They told me the videos that they like narrated. I was like, oh, I can work with this. This is awesome.
I always say that as an audiobook narrator, you are the conduit for the story. You are the way in which this story is being told for every single character. And so you need to find that story and those characters inside yourself so that it is real to you as you say the words. And authenticity is what I think separates somebody who's really bringing a story to life to somebody who's just reading a book out loud. That is the key difference for making it as a narrator. And so I think Dana is already off to a really great start in that she's aware that being yourself and finding this in yourself is exactly the way to do it.
I landed on my style by trial and error because I learned that when you're naturally and authentic to yourself, that people will naturally gravitate to that more. I want to give a feeling, whether you're a child or you're an adult or you're an older person, you can get this feeling, whatever age you are, you can get this feeling. You're either going to laugh, you're going to get some type of emotion from what I'm saying or narrating in the video. I am excited to learn from Miss Emily today the ins and outs of narration, the in-depths of it all, transitioning from shorter stories to longer stories, what genres to choose from, what would you generally gravitate to, what speaks to you the most, and making it a long-lasting, outstanding career.
Hi, Dana. I'm excited to be here with you today.
Hi, I'm excited to be here.
I watched your videos on social media, and they're so much fun. I think that's so cool that you were doing that. And what I love about them is that they're clearly so you. Like even at meeting you, it's like that's just who you are. And I love that you found a way to capture that in this narration video.
I'm glad you were able to watch it and enjoy those, because I like it when people can get some type of feeling from those videos.
Absolutely. So I know that today you wanted to talk about some of the differences between that sort of video that you record and have on your social media and audiobook narration. So do you want to start by talking about that?
Yes, I do want to start by talking about the differences.
Okay, great. Well, so I think that in terms of performance, the two big differences would be that one is you were improvising that stuff, right? So it was you were making up what you were saying as you were saying it. And obviously with an audiobook, you have a pre-written script that you're reading from. So I would say that's a pretty big difference, right? And then the other one is the length. How to maintain focus for hours at a time. When you're narrating audiobooks, obviously how much time you spend recording depends on the length of the book, but you will spend several hours for every hour of finished audio that you record. So it does take a lot of focus. I also think another big difference between the short form videos and longer form videos is going to come over time as in terms of vocal health and the things that as a performer you have to be able to do for audiobooks that you don't necessarily have to for these shorter videos, such as multiple characters, such as being able to maintain your voice sounding good over, several hours in a day. So that I think is very different. And people who are used to shorter forms, such as the videos you did or commercial voiceover or animation, other things that just take up less time, a lot of people don't think about doing a vocal warm-up. Like if you were going to sing, you would do a vocal warm-up. And people think like, oh, I'm just talking. I can just talk. But it's the difference between walking around the block and walking a marathon. If you were going to walk a marathon, sure, you can walk it, but you'd probably want to warm up first. So audiobook narration is definitely more of a marathon. And it's really important, both as a performer for quality, but also for your health, to take care of your voice way more seriously than you might with these other shorter form voiceover projects.
I'm glad you said something about vocal exercising, like you have to prepare yourself for it. Audiobooks is a marathon, because some days I'd be at home, me, and then okay, yeah, you're not a singer.
with audiobook narration as much as singing, if not even more so in some ways, because it's nonstop talking for hours at a time. And it uses every single part of my voice that I have the ability to use. And so I want to make sure that I can access each of those with ease, and I don't have to struggle to get there. Is there any other differences between the two that you're worried about or you want to talk about?
Well, I think you did cover the question that I was getting to ask. I think you just covered it, which was the longevity of if you lose like your pace or your momentum while you're reading, how do you recover to pick it back up?
So it's totally normal to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. I can't read more than a page or two without fumbling over a word. It's perfectly normal. And of course, when you're starting out, you may fumble a little bit more, and then you'll sort of get used to it, and it'll happen less and less. I think the main thing about making mistakes and things like that is to not get frustrated with yourself, because everybody makes mistakes. Everybody, from the greatest narrators of all time to new people who are just doing their first book, everybody is going to make a mistake. So if you're feeling yourself getting really flustered, I always recommend just take a breath, give yourself a break, remind yourself that it's okay, and take a breath. And then when you're ready and you're settled, go back into it. So you've picked a portion of The Wizard of Oz to read for us today, right?
I have.
Yeah. Is there anything that you did to prepare for this, or any sort of work that you thought about in terms of the characters or anything?
The things that I thought about or kind of looked into was the perspective that if I'm reading this story to an adult versus a child, how I would want them to perceive it the same way and to be, I don't want to say lured in, but to be mesmerized or brought into by the storytelling, the way that I'm doing it. So I'm like, okay, well, The Wizard of Oz, I think an adult, a child, a teenager, they could all relate to this.
Yeah, I think that when we talk about reading a book, it's really important to create that world for our listeners. And we don't necessarily know who our listeners are. I mean, if it's a children's book, we have a sense it's a children's book. And if it's, a horror book, obviously it's horror fans. But I always think that those clues come more from the story because we don't know who's listening to it. I mean, you could have somebody who's 85 and like a sailor or something, and somebody who's 13 and, really loves Barbie dolls still, and they could be listening to the same book. So I think that it's more about finding the story and where that story lives in you, because you're our narrator. And you could read a book, and then I could read a book, and then 100 other people could read the same book, and we would all read it differently because that book resonates differently in each of us. Just like every book and every performance is going to resonate differently in each of our listeners. So when we think about our characters, what we're really doing is we're finding the parts of ourselves that resonate with each of those characters. So when in the scene that you've chosen, you have the lion, you have the Tin Man, you have Dorothy, and the Scarecrow. And they're all distinct people. But the beauty of writing is about capturing shared humanity, right? So whether it's Darth Vader or it's Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz or whatever, there is a part of me that I have to find the part of me that resonates with each of them. Because if they're real people, then they're all part of a shared human experience, right? Whether I personally agree with their viewpoints or not, in order to bring them to life, I have to find the part of me that can understand them. So let's take a look at the portion that you've started with. You've picked a pretty iconic piece with some great characters in it. So I'd love to hear what you do with it first, and then we can talk about it a little bit more. Does that sound good?
It sounds like a plan.
Great.
So, I think this is page 68 from The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Let's see. Cold shiver run down my back. What is that little animal you are so tender of? He is my dog, Toto, answered Dorothy. Is he made of tin or stuffed? Asked the lion. Neither. He's a meat dog, said the girl. Oh, he's a curious animal and seems remarkably small, now that I look at him. No one would think of biting such a little thing except a coward like me, continued the lion sadly. What makes you a coward? Asked Dorothy, looking at the great beast in wonder, for he was as big as a small horse. It's a mystery, replied the lion. I suppose I was born that way. All the other animals in the forest naturally expect me to be brave, for the lion is everywhere thought to be the king of beasts. I learned that if I roared very loudly, every living thing was frightened and got out of my way. Whenever I've met a man, I've been awfully scared. But I just roared at him, and he has always run away as fast as he could go. If the elephants and the tigers and the bears had ever tried to fight me, I should have run myself.
You can stop there if you'd like.
I'm such a coward.
Yeah, that was great. So I think that you're off to a good start with narration because, as we talked about with your earlier videos, you're really not trying to put a voice on, or put something on top of it. You're really just being yourself. And I think that that's great. I think that's yourself is not only the best place to start, it's the only place you can start, right? You don't have anything else. So I think the fact that you're not trying to, put something on top of it or be someone else and you're just telling the story from you, I think is a great start. But I do want to talk about these characters, right? So when you narrate an audiobook, listeners do expect you to be able to tell who's talking. Unlike with a book, when you're reading it, you can see, like it said the lion or whatever. But they really want to hear it in your voice. They want to be able to tell the difference between these characters. And in order to do that, we need to figure out who these characters are, what makes them different from each other, so that we can separate them a bit. So let's talk about the lion first. So the lion, we've just met the lion in this scene, right? Like this is his first entrance into the book.
Yes, his first appearance.
Yeah. So the lion is talking about how everyone expects him to be the king of the jungle, right? And how he always has to be brave and he always has to put on a face. But inside, he feels like a coward. So what do you think that's like for him? To be this creature that everyone expects to be a certain way, but it's just not who he is.
I feel like he's very conflicted. So when it's time for him to express himself or to talk, he's actually being his normal self. It's other people that want him to be the big roar lion, and
sure, but he thinks he should be also, right? Because he tries to pretend, doesn't he?
Yes.
And he feels ashamed that he's not that. When they go to the Wizard of Oz, what does the lion want? What does he wish for more than anything?
Bravery.
Bravery, yeah. So why is bravery so important to the lion?
He needs that to be the king of the jungle, to be that ferocious lion, that beast that everybody is perceiving him as.
Yeah. Exactly. In this scene, what is he talking to them about with Dorothy? He says it's a mystery. What is he saying to them?
Well, what I gather from it, that it's a mystery that he's not living up to his full potential, or that he's not, it's a mystery why he's not being that great lion, or...
Yeah. Basically, he's not who everyone wants him to be, and he doesn't know how to be that. Is there, or he's not who he wants himself to be either. Is there any part of you that can relate to that? I know I can.
It's some parts.
Yeah, I mean, just the idea of what everyone expects us to be, and who we wish we were, but we're not. So when we're narrating his dialogue, we want to make sure that that part of his experience, because that's kind of like the core of his struggle as a character, right? We want to make sure that that comes across. We want to find the part of us that can relate to not being who we wish we were sometimes. And we want to bring that to life. So try reading just from the It's a Mystery part, just so that we can key in on his dialogue. And let's try that again, but try to really get behind his perspective.
In the sad tone, is it? Let's see.
It's not about emotion or sad or anything like that. I want you to find where that, like when I say, if I say to you, and you know, and you're thinking for yourself, I will never be good enough.
Okay.
Like, find the place in you that resonates with that and read from that place.
It's a mystery, replied the lion. I suppose I was born that way. All the other animals in the forest naturally expect me to be brave, for the lion is everywhere thought to be the king of beasts. I learned that if I roared very loudly, every living thing was frightened and got out of my way. Whenever I've met a man, I've been awfully scared. But I just roared at him, and he has always run away as fast as he could go. If the elephants and the tigers and the bears had ever tried to fight me, I should have run myself. I'm such a coward.
Yeah. Did you feel that difference?
I did.
Yeah.
It was like
it's when you're really speaking the character's words as if they're your own. It's a totally different experience.
Yes, it was like I was more up here overthinking. I like that.
Yeah, I think that's something that audiobook narrators do a lot. Especially because most audiobook narration doesn't have directors or anybody else giving you feedback. It's sort of just you in the booth by yourself. And so we think a lot about how we want something to sound. You know, like you asked, should he sound sad? And we get so lost in what we think things, the way we think things should be, that we lose sight of the story that's in front of us. And the more that we can just dig deeper into this story and make this story come alive for ourselves, the less it matters how you sound. It doesn't matter if you're doing it the right way, because there is no right way. There's only your way. Your way is the only way that counts, because you're narrating this book.
Okay, like free flowing. Okay, got it. Just less up here than more feeling than less up here.
So let's get you into your body a little bit more, because he's a lion, so he's a pretty big character, right? So obviously you're a human, right? But if you were to think about what a lion's body would be like just kind of think about it. What are lions like physically?
I was about to say lioness. They're like strong statues, statuesque.
He's big. He's a big guy. All he has to do is like roar and people run away from him. Right? So let's find
right.
And then think about like a lion's voice. You know, obviously this guy he's more of a timid kind of lion. But, you know, what are lions' voices kind of like? How would a lion's voice be different from yours?
It's more in depth. It's I want to say exuding, like talking through a megaphone.
Sure. Yeah. Louder maybe. Yeah, totally deeper maybe. But we wanted to still have that heart that you just found, right? Where you were talking about, you know, what you just found, the authenticity you just found. We want to keep that, but we want to get more of the lion's physical life on top of it.
Okay.
Does that make sense? If you have questions, we can talk about it more.
I'm trying to get to the physical life part.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's like a combination of the tone in which I was in that just naturally, when you finally just naturally let it flow, but remembering that this is still a lion and he's like his voice has to be
different than the narrative voice, right? So when you say like said the lion or whatever that line is, we do need to hear that you've shifted back to the narrator. so that there is a difference. So it has to feel authentic. It has to be the part of yourself that relates to this lion, but it does have to still have lion qualities to it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. So if it helps, I mean, if you want, you can like roar for a bit or sort of like, get that physical life into you if it helps.
I'm like, grr, roar, roar. I can't roar. Like, what?
Yeah, you're a lion. So, okay. So just feel big, take up some space, sit up tall, feel a little larger. Yeah, you're a lion. All right. And now remember that even though you look this way, it's not who you are in your heart. Right? That's the lion's problem. So take a minute to let, or a few breaths or something, just to let this sink in, that this difference of what the lion would sound like, how he feels in his body, But then remember that he's ashamed because he looks differently than how he feels inside.
Okay, I think I got it.
Okay, take your time. It's okay if you need a minute.
And then I'm reading from the It's a Mystery part again.
Yeah, from the same part.
Okay. It's a mystery, replied the lion. I'm just going to stop
you really quick. When you switch between the dialogue and the narrator, take a beat. So, it's a mystery, said the lion. Separate them out because it's not the same person talking. And then you can go back to the lion.
Okay. It's a mystery, replied the lion. I suppose I was born that way. All the other animals in the forest naturally expect me to be brave, for the lion is everywhere thought to be the king of beasts. I learned that if I roared very loudly, every living thing was frightened and got out of my way. Whenever I've met a man, I've been awfully scared, but I just roared at him and he has always run away as fast as he could go. If the elephants and the tigers and the bears had ever tried to fight me, I should have run myself. I'm such a coward.
Okay. How was that?
That felt like it was kind of it.
Yeah. Well, there was definitely more of a character there, right?
It was. I don't know.
It felt like you, but it was also something else too. It was like you mixed with this other personality, right?
Yes.
But it still felt like you talking, right?
But it was like I can't even explain it. It was like you know how you let the water out the sink and it's a spiral going down? And it was like it's a good feeling, but it was like okay, I can get into this.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, when we're creating characters for an audiobook, we wanna find them, right? So it's who they are and who we are and where those things meet. But it can't just be, every character in the book can't just be you. It has to be the part of you that's kind of like a lion, the part of you that feels hollow inside if you're the Tin Man, the part of you, whoever these characters are, we need to find the parts of ourselves that connect with it, but it has to find that difference also. The things that bring us all together, that's how you find the authenticity, but the things that are different about us, that's where you find the character voice. So I think you need to have a balance of both, to have characters that feel different when you're reading, but that also come to life in a way that feels real. Right.
I think with a bit of time and more practice, I will be there. Because, this is definitely a shift from those little easy 30-second videos I'm able to do to, okay, this is not this, that's not real, but this is, yeah.
I think it's all real. I think that not everybody could do I could never do the videos that you do on social media. I think that different people have different skills and different, assets, things they're good at, whatever, things that come naturally. But I think that anyone can learn how to be an audiobook narrator. Some people it takes longer than others, but I think the instinct to tell stories is something that lives in all of us, because humans from the beginning of time, in every generation, in every nation, everywhere, have told stories. It's something that's natural to us. So I think that we can all do it. It's just about learning the skills, finding the vulnerability within yourself to be willing to go there and really tell that story. I think that storytelling is just being a human being, but learning how to connect with multiple human beings so that you can tell anyone's story and not just your own.
That's well said.
Thank
I
you.
like that. It was very scary because I am a person of coming from those videos where I'm the dictator. I'm the boss. I'm calling the shots, to hand over the reins and go, oh, okay, well, then again, I had to kick myself like, okay, sometimes it's better to listen. Okay, yeah, you're stepping into a new territory, and these are steps that you need to do in order to get there, because it's no longer, like I said, the 30-minute clips are me just being me. It's bringing multiple characters to life in different ways to where I normally would go, oh, well, okay, this one voice might work. Like, no, it's like you're getting into I don't want to say too deep, but a different psyche. Like the little tornado feeling I was explaining, it felt good. It felt invigorating.
I think Dana is really good at being Dana. And that sounds silly, but not everyone is really good at being themselves. I think a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to be someone else, just like the lion does. And I think that Dana's ability to tap into her natural rhythm, her natural expression or expressiveness, I think that is going to serve Dana a lot going forward in her career. And I think that it helps her be off to a really great start.
You got to love reading. You have to be passionate about it. Like, don't just start and stop or treat it like it's a hobby. Actually be passionate about it, or find that genre or that book or whatever story is your love language that speaks to you. My next steps is I'm going to apply what I learned, and I'm going to practice. In fact, I'm going to pick up a nice book off the shelf, blow some dust off, and get to reading it, getting into the context of that book and how I could get into those different characters and break it down until I'm comfortable enough to go, okay, wait, let me try to record it now, step by step. Or wait, okay, I can do this. I'm there. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there.
The key takeaways that we discussed would be stamina, both in terms of giving yourself the room to grow in that way, but also being kind to yourself. This notion that narrators and human beings get so caught up in needing to be right, needing to be correct, needing to do it the right way, needing to sound a certain way. I think that these are the things that people get so in their head about. They get so discouraged. Focus on having fun. Focus on curiosity, on enjoying yourself. If you're pursuing a job as an audiobook narrator, I'm hoping it's because you love doing it. So focus on that. Have fun with it. And in the times that it gets hard, remember why it's fun and come back to that, because that will hopefully always be there.
Ultimately, it's your experience and your connection to the characters in their lives. That's what'll bring your audiobook to life. So let yourself daydream a little, or a lot. Really inhabit the world of the story and the people in it. Then share those pieces that resonate with you. We can't wait to listen to your work. For more performance and production tips, subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out our blog. Until next time.